Hey everyone, so I just did this expressive painting of this calla lily. So if you're interested in seeing how that came about, continue watching. All right, so this is Canson mixed media paper, Canson XL mixed media. It looks like it is 98 pounds. Nothing too heavy, it's not heavy at all, so I have to go easy on the water that I use in this paper. I have to avoid the washes in this and just like place color intentionally. So I am going to try to avoid using my core watercolors because my cores don't blend as easily as the M-grams do. The M-grams have a much smoother application. So I'm going to do my best just to use M-gram. I used to paint with the Sakura Koi watercolor pocket box. Those are my first paints. So, I kind of mapped out where I want shadows to go and ridges to go, and it's purposely wrong. It's purposely like all muddy looking. So let's just get into it and see what we can do. Okay. So I'm gonna take some of this cad yellow, because I know I want yellow. And let's just start the places that I know. And I should probably not use so much water, but we are going to just do the best we can and see how this goes. All right, I see a lot more paint needed. There we go. These are so transparent. I'm sorry if I'm shaking the camera here. I have it mounted onto my table. Still trying to figure out, you know, the setup. I like how that's coming out. And I'm hoping for it to come out a bit psychedelic looking, because that's how I dreamed it, so. Lots of colors, and the colors are maybe not even flattering. I don't know. The feeling I'm going for is not pretty necessarily, it's intense. I want you to look at it and be like, oh wow, like a punch of color. And the colors may not necessarily be right. So I have two family members that are colorblind. And I think this is where my fascination with colors has come in a bit. And I tend to think of, so I'll do a painting, right? And I'll do a painting that is flattering, that's pleasing to the eye, that the colors are, you know, how they're supposed to be. The colors are pleasing. You look at it and it's like, ooh, ah. And then I'll dream of that same painting, but with all the colors wrong, like augmented in some extreme way. And I'm starting to think it's because I'm really motivated to make some paintings representing my family members, like, and how they see everything. So that's something to think about. Okay, so now I'm trying to make a little bit of a forest screen. To place there. What I love about this aqua brush is it's so easy to clean, and it always has a point. Almost always. You gotta twirl it a little bit every now and then. And it's nothing fancy. I think it's clear Taklon or something like that. It's not like super expensive anyway. Like it's not like a heavy quality brush. It's definitely cheap. I think they're about, I think I saw for like $7 you can get like a pack of 5. And for one, I think it's like $2.50, which it honestly doesn't make any sense whatsoever to just get the one. This one happened to come in a kit. I don't use those paints anymore. I mostly, I like to work with children. So I'll babysit and spend time with kids. And I like to do different activities with them. Painting is one of them, so oftentimes I will bring the koi watercolors for when I'm babysitting and I'm teaching like the grade school kids how to paint. And I try to make it fun because, you know, they're small kids. They may not be interested in it as something to learn or to get too serious with it, but just the joy of creating something. So I bring those. I don't have to worry about, you know, if they get messed up or not. It's neither here or there to me. I know some people really like the reviews that I see online. Some people really enjoy that kit, and that kit was really good for starting out. It was really good for what I needed it to be. At that point in time, I was painting just to, well, I was trying to pick up different hobbies simply to relieve stress. I had noticed that I got really swamped, wrapped up in life, and I wasn't caring for myself. Like, I'm not talking about hygiene or hair or nails, or I'm talking about self-care like your soul. Like, I wasn't doing any of that. And I was getting wrapped up in my duties to my family and duties as in like what you have to get done in life, and I wasn't focusing on me, my soul, my energy, or my mental health at all. And so I stopped for a second and said to myself that I had to start investing in me and start doing things for my mental health. That I needed hobbies. And so I was trying different hobbies, and if I was going to get into art again, I did art in high school, and if I was going to get into it again, I didn't want to deal with super cheap products, because I knew that for me, that was going to irritate me. If I was going to have to fight with the product to get it to work well, that I was not going to be having any fun. So I tried to find something that was still affordable and got the job done, but wasn't so, you know, I guess cheap is the word. I was trying to avoid that word, but, you know, too low of quality, extremely low quality is what I was not looking for. And that was a good middle ground, because I had a little sketch. So I had that sketchbook, and I would doodle sometimes even in bed with this water brush. Like, I didn't really have to try too hard. Here we go. I kind of made it indigo with the umber and the ultramarine. So it was relieving my stress. I was enjoying the little paintings that I was making. And they were bad, guys. Like, they weren't even like anything spectacular to look at. I don't think I want anyone to ever see those paintings. They were bad, but they did what I needed them to do. And then I challenged myself to paint once a day, even if it was just for 20 minutes. And it wasn't about what I was creating. It was just about, to just wind down after a long day at work. And it was working. And I started to become obsessed, like I am now, with just creating things. And it was a wonderful feeling. It really was a wonderful feeling. And then after a while, I decided, all right, even if this is a hobby, I want to start doing it more seriously, more intentionally, not just like, oh, let's just see what happens. Like, no, I want to create things with a purpose. And so I saved up my coin, and after I think 8 months to a year of working with the koi watercolors, I finally saved up enough money to buy my core watercolors. And I had worked with watercolor in high school, like I said, and therefore I knew how watercolors worked, and I just kind of wanted the challenge of working with watercolors that were not traditional, and seeing what happened. And I liked the unpredictability of the core watercolors, and let me tell you, it was frustrating at first. Like, learning with those paints is, wow, it's a lot. Those paints, like, you can watch a tutorial and water control and shading and all of this stuff, and core paints don't work like regular paints, regular watercolor paints. So it's like, wait, I'm doing everything that they're saying on the screen, but it's just not coming out the way I intended. And it's because the properties of the paint is different. You know, a lot of the tutorials that I was watching, they worked with Cotman watercolors, and Cotman doesn't have as much flow, nowhere close to the amount of flow that core does. And so you can place a color down and it's not going to like explode like core does. And so trying to learn water control while watching someone who wasn't working with the same type of paint, the same paint, like the behavior of paint that I was a little frustrating. I remember I was trying to follow a tutorial by the Frugal Crafter, Lindsay, the Frugal Crafter, and she was using emigram paint that I'm now using, and I was using I was using the koi watercolors, and I did not understand why I couldn't get my paints to flow like her paints. Like, she was putting color down and the color was moving, and I was putting it down and it was not going anywhere. And I'm like, I don't understand. I'm doing the same thing. It's not the same thing. It's a little different. The paints behave differently, and I had to learn that the hard way, I guess. Just love a challenge, don't I? Sorry if I'm breathing into the mic. I'm trying really hard not to block the view of the camera. I'm trying to give the idea of this petal is flopping a bit. It's a little floppy. It's not just like freshly bloomed, it's starting to have a lot of character. And I hope I'm properly portraying that. I feel the need for a little bit of rose in here somewhere. Let's see what I can get into. When I get really into my painting, I get quiet. I was a little chatterbox a second ago, and all of a sudden, it's like, huh, you're here? Didn't even remember I was recording. That rose is starting to look exactly how I intended it to. You know, you have some bad art days, and then you have other ones that are just like perfection. Okay, gonna take some more of this cad yellow. I'm gonna dilute it a lot. Gonna dilute it down as much as I can. And then try my hardest not to put too much water. So I think calla lilies, growing up, calla lilies was my mother's favorite flower, I believe. And I think that she eventually changed her mind. She still likes lilies, but they're not her favorite anymore. But I remember growing up, that was definitely a thing. And so I think that I picked up some of her things, some of her characteristics and traits and all of that. And so even now, I really do love calla lilies. But you know what? Maybe now I like them just because they're beautiful. Like, they have so much personality. I don't even know how to describe them, honestly. Okay, so in the picture I have this really extreme orange. I know it's a sexual characteristic of the flower. Like, you have the male parts and the female parts of a flower. I think this is the male part. I'm not sure. I'm not a botanist or any of that, but I'm trying to think of, you know, 9th grade science. Trying to remember just a tad bit. I'm gonna throw some of that cad yellow in there. That's a little bit too much water for this paper. Uh-oh, but whatever. We're just gonna go with it. And then I'm gonna throw in some cad orange. I think I'm gonna throw in some blue too, honestly. So that's ultramarine blue, and then I'm going at the Quin Rose, which I know is gonna make this a little purpley. Well, it looks like the rose is overpowering the blue a little bit, and that is quite all right, because I definitely don't want a blue or necessarily purple stamen. I think it's the stamen. Okay. So this is where we came to in this painting. I'm gonna add a few more details, I think. Ooh, this is a turquoise. Add some diluted turquoise on here I'm throwing in. I like that. All right, so I think that's about it. Felt right to me. What do you think? Also, if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give me the thumbs up and subscribe for more videos.